James, welcome back, everybody. We're going to move now to quality improvement, and we have two speakers who are very well qualified to talk on this subject. And if we think about quality improvement, I think it's fair to say that in the UK, hepatology is really at the forefront of this. And I think it's aptly illustrated by James's work with the iQuils program, improving quality in liver services. And James, I think I'm right to say, James, you started embarking this on 2017. So we're really keen to understand where we are with the iQuils program at the moment. James, as you know, is a transplant hepatologist in Birmingham. So James, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you see the slides? Is that all right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and you can hear me? And
we can see and hear you loud and clear, James.
Great. Okay, hi everyone from Birmingham. Hope you're all okay and not too busy. Things are certainly busy here. So I'm just going to give you a very quick run through an update of where we are with the iQuils program. I guess first thing, what does iQuils stand for? You can see in the top left corner, improving quality in liver services. Let's see, here we go. And as you said, it's an accreditation program that was launched in conjunction with the Royal College of Physicians London in 2017, late 2017. So it's been running for really 2 to 3 years now. And the aim of it is really just to improve the quality and safety of care for patients with liver disease across the country. And ultimately, we would hope that that would then reduce premature mortality from liver disease across the country. And I think we're all aware that there is a massive variation in the standard of care for patients with liver disease when they come in the front door of hospitals. And we can't control where patients come in. So the idea that we can look after these patients all in ivory towers, I don't think is a reasonable one. So what we've got to do is make sure that patients are well looked after wherever they turn up. How does the system work? Well, there's a set of standards, six domains with standards within them, and a centre will work through those standards to get themselves to a level and improve themselves over time. And then ultimately they'll feel that they're ready to be accredited, and then a team comes out and decides whether they can be accredited or not, whether they can get that badge. I'll of course now talk about that in a little bit more detail, but that's the basic way it works. And those who have worked with the JAG scheme will understand this process. So a bit more detail about that. So there are the standards. For those of you who've worked through, what tends to happen is a team within the liver service sets up a working group and starts to work through those standards. There may be plenty that you're already doing, there may be ones that you aren't so strong in, and you just start as a group and start working through those and improving your service. You're obviously, for the team who are going to come and see you, you're going to have to provide evidence that you are doing that, and then ultimately aim for accreditation. Cycle is that once you are accredited, you still need to perform an annual renewal, which is just a self-assessment each year. And then 5 years later, the team will come out once again to see you. So once you've got that badge of accreditation, it's just a simple self-assessment for a few years, just to make sure you're on top of things, and then a formal review every 5 years. Again, very similar to the JAG endoscopy scheme as far as the accreditation cycle is concerned. What are the standards? Well, there are 6 core standards that we really want to look into detail about a liver service. Broadly, leadership in organisation, we want to see that there is leadership, both medically, nursing, and on a managerial level, that leadership team meets regularly to talk about the service, that you get together your whole team, perhaps on an annual basis for an annual away day. These are the types of things we're looking for around leadership in organisation. Service planning, that you have a plan for the year ahead, that you have a plan for 5 years ahead, that you define the services that you provide, that plan is shared publicly so people can access, whether they're patients or whether they are referrers, to what services you provide. That might be transplantation, but it also might be looking after people with chronic liver disease or NAFLD or alcohol, but it's so important to define actually what you do. We've worked very carefully with the patient groups in the UK to push hard on the person-centered care, so trying to make a service much more patient-focused. And this is probably the most challenging section, and appropriately so. There's a section on safety. Is your service safe? Do you have systems to evaluate whether your service is safe? Can your staff speak up? Datex is a root cause analysis. Generally, we find most trusts have got processes in place around this. Clinical effectiveness, do you measure what you do? Is your service effective? And then finally, staffing. Do you have the adequate staff, the adequate facilities to provide your service? And if not, do you have plans to access that staff? Obviously, that's a quick run through. Broadly, that's what we're looking for in a liver service. So just going into detail about one of them, here are the quality metrics we look for in every service. And we spent some time working through these, and we asked centres to provide 6 months of data for this. So do you give antibiotics when someone has a varicose bleed? Do you tap patient societies when they come in as emergency? Are you giving albumin and antibiotics when people come in with SVP? And if someone comes in with decompensated liver disease, are they seen by either a gastroenterologist or hepatologist within 24 hours of admission? Everyone thinks they're doing these things well, but you only know you're doing them well until you measure them. Generally, you're doing them less well than you think. If you want to find out more information, there's loads more information on our website, and there's videos and all sorts of information around, how to get involved, how to work through the standards, etc., etc. We use the website for services to upload the evidence and for also assessors to access the evidence before they go out on their visit to the said service. Who supports the project? Well, we're blessed to be embedded within accreditation units of the Royal College of Physicians. You may or may not know there's a number of accreditation schemes across services across the UK, and we are one of those schemes now. We have backing from all the patient groups, and they also sit on our steering committee and have also developed the standards. We have backing from all the major professional societies, including the Lancet Commission, the nursing societies, the Accreditation Alliance, and NHS Wales have actually fully funded IQLs for all their liver services in their country. Where are we at the moment? Well, we now have 52 sites working towards accreditation. You can see that a predominant number are spread across England. There's a reasonable number in Wales, as one would expect. They funded it fully there. We've got sites in Northern Ireland, and just for Dr. Leithhead, none in Scotland. We're working on that one. We have 6 sites now have achieved level 1 accreditation, and I'll show you those sites. We've also got about 4 sites who've submitted their level 1 accreditation that's being currently assessed, and these sites are now all working actively to get to level 2 and full accreditation. So we're making good progress on that. What are the next steps? Well, of course, we want to encourage the final batch of liver services to sign up across the country. We run regular training days for the sites. We're training up assessors because, of course, we're now going to be moving in, sending out lots of assessment teams once the COVID situation is over to assess these sites. and we have numerous tools to help with improvement on our website. We support our services very heavily. We've got a team in London who are easily accessible and work with our services very carefully to get them through. We have lots of training days. We have support when you're at level 1 and level 2, and we share knowledge around the country. And I hope what this is going to do is share good practice about managing liberties across the UK in much more quickly than we have done in the past. We have an unrestricted educational grant from Norgine as well, which will help smaller services if they don't quite feel ready for the level 2 accreditation visit. We'll send in a team to help them achieve level 1 standards. All non-ODN hub sites can apply, and we've got 8 visits planned in 2021 for that. Why should people get involved if they're not? Well, so far 52 sites have done it just because it's the right thing to do. But it's also linked to get it right first time. We're in talks with NHS England about linking to the best practice tariff. Obviously, that's a bit off the table at the moment because we've all moved to block contracts because of COVID, but once that comes back online, Dr. Griffiths and I have been speaking about linking to training, and then also we're in talks about linking to the appraisal process. So apologies for a quick talk, but I think I only had 10 minutes. So summary, IQLS will only happen if we and our cohort think it's a useful thing. Do we want to improve? Yes or no? We know there's a major unmet need in the provision of liver services in the UK. There's a huge variation in the care that is provided across the country. We've got lots of sites now signed up. We're now getting sites achieving level 1 accreditation, hopefully level 2 in the near future. And I've mentioned the others. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, James, well, thank you very much for that excellent, clear presentation of where we are with IQLS. I mean, certainly I chair the BSG CSSC and was quality improvement lead, and we certainly endorse the process as well in our framework, James, and it's seen as central to improving the quality of liver services throughout the UK. I'm just looking on the web chat. People are thinking of questions, James. Can I just ask you about the effects of COVID, because that's put a bit of some brakes on the QI work that we've been doing at the BSG, and has that been the same for you? I wondered if you could just talk me through how it's affected you, and I know it affected Bev Oates's GIRF visits as well.
Yes, no, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, most things stopped for a few months. If, for example, I became an intensive care doctor for 3 months, and we're obviously experiencing the second surge now. I think the main effect has been that we don't feel comfortable to go and perform visits in hospitals. That doesn't feel appropriate at the moment, and we've kind of shelved that to this spring. However, what's amazed me is that services are kind of battling on with service improvements and sending in data. What we saw was that as the pandemic was improving, perhaps people had a little bit of time, or perhaps they felt encouraged to improve their service. We had a real push across the summer with lots of sites pushing through data. Now, as I said, obviously what we can't do are visits, but hopefully once we're on the better side of this second wave, we can start up with visits again and start moving things forward. Yeah.
Thanks, James. James, we just got a question, very interesting question from Lindsay Spillman about allied health professionals, whether dietetics and physio and allied individuals are included in the IQLS process.
Excellent question, and in fact something that we were discussing just the other day. As you can imagine, we started off as quite a small group, a steering group with when we didn't have very many sites involved, but now we're such a big grouping. We're making a number of changes, so we've just advertised and also put onto the grouping a trainee, and we've set up a trainee group. We obviously have nursing already involved. We're going to get some more consultants help, and we are going to set up, we'd like to set up an AHP group and have an AHP professional sitting on the steering group, because dietetics, physio, pharmacy are absolutely crucial to delivering an excellent liver service. And so, yep, completely in agreement, and that will be happening, and you'll be hearing from us over the coming weeks.
Thanks, James. And one last question, because we need to move on, and this is from Chirag Oza. Could there be support from IQWILS to pressure the local CCGs, James, to fund dietetics for liver disease for both inpatients and outpatients? He's finding significant resistance from his local CCG, which is South Essex, and I'm sure that reflects a lot of people's experience. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, so actually I think getting involved in the process will help. Those of you who have been involved in JAG know that actually by not having something and for us, for example, us coming in and saying, well, you're a great service, but you're lacking this, this, and this, often then leads to traction with your trust and your local CCG about funding. So I would suggest that being involved in this, having a team coming in and saying where your gaps are, really enables those discussions with your trust and your funders.
Well, James, that's excellent. If there are any other questions, perhaps if they could be directed to James via email, and it just goes to me to thank James for this incredibly hard work. It's such an important project, and we can see what happened with colonoscopy. It started off the GRS with Roland in a very small way, and then it gained momentum, and it's transformed colonoscopy. This is I would argue, a much bigger task, but such an important one, James. And I think all the hepatology community would want to thank you for this amazingly hard work. And it's a tribute to have so many sites already participating. So I'd encourage colleagues to follow up with James on this important project. So James, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Paul.